What if someone could influence every decision you make today, and you genuinely have no way of knowing it was happening? Not a theory, not a movie plot. Real techniques documented, studied, and in many cases deliberately deployed by some of the biggest companies on the planet and by people a lot closer to home than you'd probably be comfortable with. And the part that really gets me about all of this, they work even when you know about them. That's not me being dramatic. That's literally what the research shows. I'm going to walk you through 5 of them, and I want to flag something before we start. Number 3 is the one that tends to hit people personally. Like, you'll hear it and your brain will immediately go somewhere specific in your own life. And number 1, I'm saving that for last because it's not just dark in an interesting way. It's dark in a way that should make you uncomfortable because it's not theoretical. It's happening to you right now, every single day, at a scale that almost nobody talks about openly. Let's get into it. Number 5 is one that looks completely harmless on the surface, which is honestly what makes it so effective. It's called the foot in the door technique, and we've known it works since 1966, when 2 researchers at Stanford decided to test something kind of strange. They went around a neighborhood asking homeowners one tiny favor. Would you put a small 3-inch sign in your window that says, "Drive safely"? That's it. Small sign, easy yes, most people agreed. Then 2 weeks later, they came back to those same homes and asked something completely different. They wanted to put a massive billboard on the front lawn. We're talking big enough to partially block the house from the street. Ugly, inconvenient, a genuinely weird thing to say yes to. And 76% of the people who'd agreed to the little sign said yes to the billboard. Compare that to people who were asked cold with no small request first. Only 17% said yes. So what happened? When you agree to something small, your brain doesn't just file it away and move on. It quietly updates your self-image. You become someone who supports this thing. And once that identity is in place, saying no to bigger requests later feels like a contradiction, and it feels like being inconsistent with who you are. So you keep agreeing, not because you want to, because your brain is protecting a story it already told itself about you. Sales teams know this, recruiters know this, and if you ever look at how abusive relationships tend to start, it's almost always with small things, small sacrifices, small compromises, and then bigger ones, and then ones you never imagined you'd accept. It starts with a 3-inch sign. Number 4 is one I'm almost certain you've experienced in the last week. You're looking at something online, a product, a flight, a hotel, doesn't matter. And right there on the page, it says something like, only 2 left in stock, or there's a countdown timer. Or it says 14 other people are viewing this right now. And something shifts in you. You weren't that urgent about it 10 seconds ago, but now suddenly you need to decide. You stop comparing, stop thinking, and a lot of the time, you just buy. This is called manufactured scarcity, and the reason it works is not because we're stupid. It's because of something called loss aversion, which a psychologist named Daniel Kahneman spent decades researching and eventually won a Nobel Prize for. The core finding is that losing something feels about twice as bad as gaining something feels good. So your brain is not built to calmly watch an opportunity disappear. It panics a little. And when you're panicking, you're not really thinking, you're just reacting. The disturbing part is how often that scarcity isn't even real. There are countdown timers that literally reset the moment they hit 0. Stock warnings that are automated to show a low number, regardless of actual inventory. The urgency is manufactured. It's a feeling being sold to you. Next time you see a timer, just wait. Watch what happens when it reaches 0. That moment will tell you everything you need to know. Okay, number 3, I want to handle this one carefully because it's not just a sales trick or a business strategy. This one shows up in some of the most painful experiences people go through. It's called love bombing, and the name sounds almost funny until you understand what it actually is. It goes like this. You meet someone, or you join a group, or you start a new job, and almost immediately you feel this overwhelming sense of being seen. This person remembers everything you say. They're incredibly warm. They make you feel understood in a way that maybe you haven't felt in a long time. It can feel like finally. like this is what I've been missing. And your brain responds to that the way it's designed to, with a flood of dopamine and bonding hormones. You attach, and you attach quickly because the warmth is so consistent and so intense. But here's what's actually being built during that phase. Dependency, because once the bond is deep enough, the warmth gets withdrawn. Suddenly there are conditions attached to their approval. There's coldness where there used to be affection, criticism where there used to be compliments. And now your brain, which got genuinely hooked on that early feeling, starts working to get it back. You adjust your behavior. You apologize for things that aren't your fault. You start seeing the people in your life who raise concerns as the problem rather than the signal. Psychologists who study cult recruitment say this is the single most reliable first step in the process. Create an overwhelming feeling of belonging and then make that belonging conditional. By the time the conditions appear, the person is already too attached to leave easily. And I said this one tends to hit personally. So just sit with this for a second. Was there ever a relationship in your life, any kind of relationship, that started with that intensity and then slowly became something that made you feel like you were constantly falling short? Like you could never quite get back to how good it felt at the start. That pattern has a name. And it didn't happen to you because you were naive. Number 2 is being taught in business schools right now. And honestly, that tells you everything. It's called the illusion of choice. And the setup is simple. If I give you one option, you feel controlled and you'll probably resist. But if I give you 2 options, something changes. You feel like you're making a decision. You feel like you have, agency. So your resistance drops. The problem is that whoever is presenting those 2 options controls both of them. The classic example is a parent saying to a kid, do you want to go to bed now or in 5 minutes? The kid feels empowered. They're choosing, but the parent wins no matter what gets picked because both options lead to the same place. That's cute when it's bedtime. It's a lot less cute when a dealership says, would you like the standard package or the premium package? And going home without a car was never presented as a real option. Or when you're shown 2 political candidates with genuinely different personalities, but nearly identical policies on the things that would actually affect your life. You're not choosing between things. You're choosing between versions of the same outcome that someone else decided on before you arrived. Harvard research on this found that people shown 2 options are significantly more likely to make a purchase than people shown one, even when neither option was what they originally wanted going in. The act of choosing feels like freedom, even when the options were curated to serve someone else's interest. The question that breaks this is simple. What am I not being shown? Ask that before you decide anything. The answer is almost always uncomfortable and almost always useful. And then there's number 1. In the 1950s, a psychologist named B.F. Skinner was running experiments with rats. He built a box with a lever inside and set it up so that pressing the lever would release food. The rats figured it out, got what they needed, and otherwise just lived their rat lives, normal behavior. Then he changed one variable. He made the food random. Sometimes pressing the lever gave food, sometimes it gave nothing, sometimes a little, sometimes a lot. No pattern, no way to predict it. Those rats lost their minds. They pressed the lever constantly, compulsively when they weren't hungry and past the point of exhaustion. They couldn't stop because every press might be the one that pays off. Now pick up your phone. Every time you scroll, there might be something funny or something that makes you feel something or something that tells you what you've been missing. Or there might be nothing interesting at all. You don't know until you look. So you look, and then you look again. And you scroll a little further, just in case. Every time you post something, you might get 3 responses, or 30, or none. You don't know, so you check. And then you check again 20 minutes later. This is not a coincidence. It's not an emergent property of social media that nobody anticipated. Sean Parker, who was the first president of Facebook, said this out loud in a recorded interview. His words were, the thought process that went into building these applications was all about how do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible. He called it a social validation feedback loop and said it was exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. He said that, the guy who helped build it. They brought in behavioral scientists specifically to design the most effective variable reward system ever created, and then they put it in the hands of 5 billion people, including children. The rats in Skinner's box didn't know they were in a box. So what do you actually do with all of this? Awareness genuinely helps, but it's not a complete solution because most of these techniques are designed to work below the level where awareness lives. They target the parts of your brain that move faster than your conscious thoughts. What actually works is friction, slowing down on purpose, waiting before you buy something, asking what you're not being shown before you decide, noticing when something feels overwhelmingly good very fast and getting curious about that instead of just going with it. The world you're moving through has been studied extensively by people whose job it is to understand exactly how to get you to do things. That's not paranoia, it's just true. And the single most disruptive thing you can do in response to that is pause. Take a breath. Think for one more second than they're counting on. That gap and that one extra second is where your actual decision lives. If any of this shifted something for you, share it with someone, not to alarm them, just because this is the kind of thing that's more useful when more people know it. I'll see you in the next one.